Gary, great to see you.
Good to see you too, mate.
Yeah, you've recovered from the
I have.
big event. Me too. Look, fantastic event. I think second biggest ever, which, considering we were in the middle of a economic downturn, is no small achievement. We were certainly thrilled with the outcome. What were your thoughts?
Well, just so much energy in the room. Energy, ambition, commitment. A younger demographic, which is good to see. Lots of professional people whose full-time job it is to deal with sustainability and climate, and all very collegial.
Yes.
On this journey together, and I thought it was great to see so many different sectors come together in the context of our conference.
Absolutely. If you had to pick one or two highlights, what would you pick?
I'd probably start with the closing session. Actually, Rod Carr, doing a swan song, as only he can do. Yep. And beautiful complementarity with Piper Pengelly, talking about from the perspective of future generations.
What a start!
I thought, and that was a really good note to finish the whole conference on, because that was why we were there.
Yeah, exactly. And I thought the IKEA session was great. It was one of those ones where people keep on coming up to me afterwards and saying, that's what we need to do in New Zealand, from tree all the way through the table and back again, and circularity in motion, So I liked that one. We're going to talk about the minister later on. I thought that was an interesting session, and I actually liked the scene setter at the beginning too. I thought Joel was pretty punchy, but I think it was a good way of sort of reminding us of why we were there.
It was, and I think it was good to get someone in from offshore. Yeah. She kind of gave us that global perspective, the barrier reef loss and all of
really
that.
Interesting
stuff. I think that was really good perspective setting for the conference.
The minister's piece, I think that was quite interesting.
Well, what did you think?
What did I think? I thought, first of all, I thought it was really good that it was a conversation rather than a speech. Yeah. I think that those set pieces they had their place, but actually something more dynamic. And I thought it was it was pretty robust questioning, and I think he stood up to that questioning very well. I think the other thing was he kind of laid down the challenge, didn't he, to business. What are you guys doing? Which I think that gauntlet was picked up actually.
I think it was. I think the big sort of outcome from this conference was that business is committed. Business will play its role.
Yeah.
And actually they're looking for government to get the regulatory settings right. And I think one of the things that was quite clear was that the ETS still isn't right.
Yeah.
We can't plant our way out of this, although planting has a part to play.
Yeah.
And the whole taking away all those complementary measures that Labor put in place was criticised, I think, by many people at the conference. I think it was slightly shocking though the $100 million tonne gap with between the ERP and the NDC, and the potential that we might actually renege on that commitment when we've got to make a new NDC commitment by February of next year. So that was a bit of a bit thought-provoking. I think people were a bit concerned to hear that.
I think so too. And I noticed that the following week he made a slightly different statement around that. So that's something we're going to drill into, obviously. What
about next week? No, next year, I mean.
Yeah, well, that's a really good question. I know, and my team will clobber me for saying this because we're only just getting over the last one. Yeah. But we do have to start thinking ahead.
Yeah.
Well, for me, now that we've proven the value of international speakers coming in, I would like to see some more international speakers. Particularly interested on someone speaking about nature and adaptation, and also kind of drilling into what other countries are doing around their NDC gap.
Yeah.
How are other people going to fill that? And the other one that I thought was a quiet success for me was the bipartisan conversation.
Yeah.
I think it was really good for people to see that yes, there's the theatrics of
it can
Parliament,
happen.
and it can happen, right?
Yeah.
Behind the scene, particularly when you're working through through select committees, you can get some really interesting stuff happening. And so that gave me some hope that if we can get that happening in adaptation, maybe we can get it happening in the policy space as well for mitigation. What about you?
Well, I agree with all of the above, and especially adaptation. I do think we've got to have a much tougher, bigger look at that, including the Pacific.
Yes.
And bring our Pacific neighbours into that conversation. It's not all about Tairāwhiti, however terrible that may have been. There are existential threats out there.
For me, the other piece as well would be, by then we'll only be a year away from potentially the first COP in Australasia. And if that does happen, then I see next year's event being the precursor to that. What can we announce at our next event that will give us the road and the pathway to COP31?
Yeah, and a lot will become more clearer too. And I think for me, I want to see Minister Watts getting more leverage within that cabinet. Getting more consistency across government decision making around, reducing our gross emissions. And I think if business sees that happening with more ambition, then business will play its part.
Absolutely. And we're seeing that globally, right? We're seeing that that's continuing to be the case. Often it's businesses leading out.
Yep.
So, yeah. Look, it was a great event. So pleased that we get to partner with you guys at EDS. It's fantastic. And, looking forward to next year's one. Yeah,
I like the way, environment and business working together. This is a big thing.
It is a big thing.
And this kind of teamwork, I think, is the way to go.
Fantastic.
Well done.
You too.